Hi everyone, Paul Morbid here, Morbid Team Entertainment and Bolex Repair Philippines. Welcome to episode 17 of an overhaul on a Bolex Rex. So, again, we got the shutter here, and I've started cleaning off the oil, the rust removing and corrosion removing oil that I've had in here, cleaning this up. And I had to give her a deeper bath. And so if you're a student filmmaker or on a tight budget, what you can do is use hydrogen peroxide instead of giving it any type of bath. One of these expensive machines like an ultrasonic bath. Those things are generally pretty expensive. And if you're on a budget, again, the hydrogen peroxide is safe for paint. Alright? So if you have difficulty like I'm doing in separating these parts right here, and you got to know what you're doing to begin with to get them back properly and set, then you don't want to disrupt the paint on here and have to go through that type of turmoil. Remember, you got two separate pieces here, okay? So again, the paint is a factor, keeping that good finish. So, hydrogen peroxide will clean fungus, and it will clean other things. So I'm going to drop this down in here and let it sit and start cleaning off in there. Remember also, I've been using the 3-in-1 to break up some of the rust and get some things moving along and break up the corrosion and stuff like that. So I've been started cleaning off the excess oil, of course, from the shutter. We don't want any of that. Alright, so right now, again, we're in hydrogen peroxide, and I'm going to keep going with the rest of the parts, such as here, and cleaning this part of the shutter. Bit of a long process. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning with a Q-tip in these little areas in here, my pencil eraser, and around. And then I'll get to a little bit later the metal polish within the gears. You don't want anything to get really, really hard and crusty. And I'll show you how to clean that out as well. So, and I do want to continue to attempt to get this chrome lever off, removing this screw, and with the bit of rust that's here. Again, rust is the enemy. But I also want to re-chrome this lever here, okay? Because it does have a bit of rust. And that's an issue. You can't just pull the thing off, because then it's going to strip everything in here, right? So, I'm going to go right in here and pull this piece up, and you can start to see everything you got to work with as far as cleaning things out. Not only on the back of this metal piece, but pulling up and up inside there. You really want to get those parts dismantled, because that's what you got to work with right there. All that type of thing. That's what I'm having to deal with right there. Every step of the way. All that grime. A lot of detail of it. Now here's another big reason with these gears within the shutter that you want to keep these clean and get a CLA like this. As you can see how the gear moves. But what I want you to look at is right in the center, the black part, okay? And then the outer gear itself, in the center of the gear. Look right in between. I'll show you with a toothpick right in here with every gear. Alright, those areas. And back in between there, okay? That's where the old lubricants get caught. And yeah, that can cause lots of issues, image issues and timing issues. It can when it gets really, really old and ground down in there, okay? So, as we all know, we want these things to move smoothly. So that's why I want to get this dismantled as much as possible. Some of this is already put in here to where you can only make a new part, alright? But this is where we are. That's where you want to look at, right in there. These areas again, and these. to make it all work and move smoothly. Alright, so take a good look at that back in there. Got to get all that cleaned, so more to come on that. There's more to it than you think, but some simple and inexpensive solutions. And here you go again. I want to show you, this is how easy, look at the end of my pencil eraser, this gear, these gears can start oxidizing. You see that? That's with the metal cleaner there, so we'll get that cleaned off. And this is also why I'm wearing a latex glove, okay, right there. Because if you don't, the oils from the fingers are going to mix in with this metal cleaner. It's going to leave fingerprints, and that can lead to corrosion and rust. Alright, so just a tip for you there. So here, in tight spots and crevices, I'm using a toothpick. Go ahead and remove that metal polish and cleaners out. And here, these areas like that. And even the gear back over here inside. I can go ahead and start removing some of that before I get a toothbrush to it. And before I drop it into the solution. So, I'll simply wipe that off. Flip the toothpick over. And keep working. I'll turn it around. And this part, I'm going to scrape all that old stuff in there. Get as much of the cleaner, the metal polish off before I drop it into the hydrogen peroxide solution. Otherwise, it's just going to all drop inside of there. Okay, I'm just going to show you this gear again here. So there it is, and you see the screw. I turn it around to the other side. And I want you to look close, and you can see the rust on it. Right in there. Alright, let's take a good look. That's what I want to get cleaned off. Right in there, at the end of my pencil eraser. That rust. Next, I'm going to put this in a bath with hydrogen peroxide. Go ahead and start the extra process of cleaning. Okay, so I have my basin right here filled with hydrogen peroxide. I'm going to go ahead and put this part of the shutter into it with the gears and start the further cleaning process. Again, hydrogen peroxide is safe for paint, so the black paint will be good, and the hydrogen peroxide will clean fungus. So it's going to go ahead and clean those other impurities off of there as well and loosen up the metal polish, okay, that's been on there, so that I can take it out and then start the buffing and some of the final cleaning, and hopefully get that screw loose with the rust and the gear dismantle a bit further and clean under there. Okay, so I'm cleaning off the metal polish on these chrome parts for the fader, and although it's cleaned some of that off and some of the rust, it's still, as you can see, I've got a rust issue on there, and I like to clean this and re-chrome it, and that's going to take some time. I've just got to make a decision, is it now or later? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here too, and do the hydrogen peroxide. Take another one of the metal spacers in between that part of the fader and start to clean that as well. Just clean off the metal polish. I've just got an old shirt right here for stuff like this, nothing special. Clean this off, make sure all the rust is gone, and drop this into the metal cleaner. Alright, I got some rust right here. So, drop this into the hydrogen peroxide and keep the cleaning on that going, including the other parts that I have back here. Do the same thing with this part of the shutter. Okay, here's this spacer that goes into the fader. Obviously it's for this silver lever right here that's rusted as well. You see it's got some rust issues here. The lever goes click, click, click and locks into whatever space you want it to. So those rust issues on the front and back once I've removed the metal polish. Okay, and I can see that more clearly from all the gunked up graphite grease it had on it over the decades. So I'm going to take some light sandpaper and light sanding and remove that. So again, when you buy a Bolex like this, this is what the issues you have to look forward to. Two more pieces of the shutter right here. You notice all the rust. So when you get a Bolex like this in, again, no Bolex works perfectly when you get it in. All this work is going to have to be done, and the rust and everything and old lubricants removed. You're going to have to get a new, fresh, full CLA, clean, lubed, and adjustment. Alright, next I'm going to start removing the shutter that I've had in the hydrogen peroxide for some time. Removing all that 3-in-1 oil and whatever type of problems and gunk and trash were caught in between here. Just like so. Alright. And any discoloring that you see on the outside of the shutter was from the acetone that I applied in attempting to remove these screws, that at some point in time I'm still going to have to do that, because caught in between here can cause issues in rust and corrosion. So I'm going to have to tackle that sooner or later. But for right now, I'll go ahead and take and remove off from the shutter just this hydrogen peroxide. Now I need to clean in between of the shutter. Inside of there, that should be good enough. Need to get in between here. And you'll notice as this rotates the shutter, if you look close, there are two gears, one on the inside and one on the outer. As I spin the spindle with my fingers. Now here's what I want to show you with the shutter. This is easier said than done. Look in the center in between the gear and the spindle. I don't want to put my pencil eraser too close, it's going to cause a shadow. Look in between the spindle, the gear, and the shutter. You're going to see a type of a washer, a spacer in there, in between. No matter how I move it, you'll see it's there. That is going to contain any type of film particles, anything like that. So how do I get in between there without being able to dismantle these screws and the spindle and the gear? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the pipe cleaner. And by not bending the shutter, I'm going to have to rotate it in a fashion to where I can get this down in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shutter, I have to turn it to this position. Just like this. You just kind of rock it back and forth to see there, and there you go. That's the only way you're going to get in between, look in between the blades there, the shutter blades, and you'll see that position. Alright. So what we're getting is right in the center. Hope this doesn't cast a shadow. Here, in between there. In between the gear and the spindle. And what I'm going to do, the washer is on the, that spacer is on the down part. And I'll put this right here. You're not bending the shutter. You're just lifting it up a touch, as you can see that it does lift up just a touch there. Put the pipe cleaner there. Lift the pipe, lift the shutter up, the blades up just a touch, and I can take the pipe cleaner and kind of, when I lift the blades apart just ever so slightly, and put the pipe cleaner in there. just like that. Pull it down, not too hard, and then I have to run it through. All right, just as you might think. Now you're probably thinking, aren't you getting some of the pipe cleaner caught inside the blades? Well, you're going to get some caught in there. I do a touch. So I got to go back with a toothpick and check those out. This is why I need to get these screws right here dismantled, so I can get there a total efficient clean. The method with the pipe cleaner, those of you, there may be some of you out there who don't agree with this, but I'm not bending the shutter. So right here in between, at the end of my pencil eraser is where I want to show you. Right here at the back of the shutter, that's where you're looking. If you're inexperienced with this type of repair, I don't suggest attempting it at all. I'm not bending the shutter. As you can see, the shutter does, even at the back there, it can move around just a touch, just enough to get that pipe cleaner in there. As you can see that, there they go, got a good shot of there. In between there, just under the gears. Remember, any mistakes you make upon your person or your Bolex when servicing are on you. And yes, I will in time, sooner or later, due to the acetone discoloring the back of my shutter, I have to repaint that. But that's a minor issue. The big issues are getting these screws and the rest of this dismantled, because corrosion and rust are the enemy. Do contact me at the regular social media outlets on the screen for parts, servicing, and questions. Until next time, this is Paul Morbid of Morbid Team Entertainment and Bolex Repair Philippines. Do subscribe. See ya!